Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityaṁ bhāgavata-sevayā Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike Vasudeva para Veda Vasudeva para Makha Vasudeva para Yoga Vasudeva para Kriya Vasudeva param Jnanam Vasudeva param Tapa Vasudeva paro Dharmo Vasudeva param Gati Gurve Gaur Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatharinam Paramananda Madhavam Śrī Caitanya Ishwaram. Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear worshipable devotees, thank you so much for joining. We are reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 13, on this special day of Ananda Ekadashi. This chapter is entitled The Dynasty of Maharaj Nimi, who was one of the sons of Vishwaku. So, we read in the last few verses about the importance of time, that how Nimi didn't want to waste any time when Vasishtha had to go to do the yajna for Indra. Nimi didn't waste any time, so let's read on from here. Nimihi prati dadau shapam gurve dharma vartine tavapi patata deho lobhad dharmam ajanataha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. For unnecessarily cursing him when he had committed no offense, Maharaj Nimi counter-cursed his spiritual master. For the sake of getting contributions from the King of Heaven, he said, "You have lost your religious intelligence. Therefore, I pronounce this curse, your body also will fall." Purport. The religious principle of a Brahmana is that he should not be greedy at all. In this case, however, for the sake of more lucrative remunerations from the King of Heaven, Vasishtha neglected Maharaj Nimi's request on this planet, and when Nimi performed the sacrifices with other priests, Vasishtha unnecessarily cursed him. When one is infected by contaminated activities, his power, material or spiritual, reduces. Although Vasishtha was the spiritual master of Maharaj Nimi, because of his greed, he became fallen. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So now this is a very important verse in this chapter, which tells us that how Vasishtha wanted to get more remunerations, more donation, dakshina from Indra. Indra is in upper planets. He has a lot more to give. So the word used is lobhat dharma ajanataha. It's like you had already told me that you will do the yajna, but Indra invited you. You took his invitation, and that's fine. But if when I am doing the yajna with the other priests, not wasting time, then you're getting mad because you kind of lost some share of the remuneration from me. So that is not very Brahmanical. Greed is not very Brahmanical. Satisfaction is the ornament of a spiritualist. Satisfaction is the real dhan, or real thing. If one is not satisfied, in the words of Vaman Dev, if one is not satisfied with what one has, one will not be satisfied with even if one gets the possession of the three worlds. So basically what happens, one loses when one is affected by contaminated activities, we lose spiritual strength. Right? The spiritual strength when we do contaminated activities or irreligious activities like greed, envy, illicit relationships, meat eating, all these are against the dharma. So when we do those, when we engage in those, when our spiritual potency will reduce. So cursing and counter cursing. Here Bhagavatam says that he had committed no offense. Nimi Maharaj had not committed any offense, and it's quite clearly mentioned in the translation. But yet he, counter cursed. So let's see the next verse. Both of them cursed each other.
Just one curiosity. Bhushta Muni was the spiritual master of Lord Rama also, right?
Yeah, so they keep moving, yes.
And Maharaj is, I think, few generations down.
Yeah, multiple
generations down. So he has a very long life then.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Nandini, did you want to say something?
I can read the next one, Prabhu. You can.
Oh, sure, comment. Please. Actually, Nimi is the son of Ishwaku. As the first verse says, Nimi is the son of Ishwaku. And it's very hard for us to understand their ages, how much they ruled, how much they lived. So very hard. And as you rightly mentioned, that Vashishta, Vishwamitra, some of these live, beyond yugas. Beyond, some of them live beyond even manvantaras, what to speak of yugas. So it's very hard to comprehend those details. But yes, this is the same Vashishta. Even Jamban, right? Jamban we hear in Ramayana, we hear in Mahabharata, right? So we hear Jamvant in Jamvanti's story. Krishna married Jamvanti, the daughter of Jamvan. So, okay, yes, Mataji, please.
Okay, Dandavat Pranam devotees. Text 6. Iti utsarjam sarjaswam deham nimir adhyatmako vidaha mitra varunya yor jagye urva sham prapitamat maha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After saying this, Maharaja Nimi, who was expert in the science of spiritual knowledge, gave up his body. Vasishtha, the great grandfather, gave up his body also. But through the semen discharged by Mitra and Varuna, when they saw Urvashi, he was born again. Purport. Mitra and Varuna chanced to meet Urvashi, the most beautiful prostitute of the heavenly kingdom. And they became lusty. Because they were great saints, they tried to control their lust, but they could not do so. And thus they discharged semen. This semen was kept carefully in a water pot, and Vasishtha was born from it. So here it's very important is that Maharaja Nimi was an expert in the science of spiritual knowledge and gave up his body. So we may probably read about his Paramgati. We can understand that I can speculate that he must have gone back to Godhead, because he's He's giving up his body, and Prabhupada is saying that he was expert in the science, spiritual knowledge. And then very interesting fact is that Vasishta, sage Vasishta also gives up his body, but then he's born again. And then Prabhupada comments that how the Apsaras, one of them most prominent Apsara is Urvashi, and she, because of Mitra and Varuna's semen, then she got, Vasishta could take birth again because it was kept carefully in a water pot. Back to you, Prabhu, please add. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So Vasishta is basically the great grandfather who is the father of Nimi? Vishwaku.
Vivaswan. Ishwaku, sorry, Ishwaku.
Vishwaku. And who's Vishwaku's father?
Vivaswan.
Vivaswan. And who is his father?
Kashyapuni. Oh, Vaivasvat. Sorry. Sun god. No, sun god is Vivaswan.
Sun god is Vivaswan. So Vasishta is basically one of the Manas Putra of Brahma.
Yeah.
Born from the mind. Vasishta has a very special position, one of the Saptarishis also we read. So he has a very long lifetime. So, okay, he was born again, as we read in the story. So let's see what happens further. Text 7. Anyone wants to read, please?
Hare
Yes.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam, all goes to Srila Prabhupada, text number 7. Gandha vastu tatteham nidhaya muni sattama sampate satre yagecha devan uccha samagatan. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. During the performance of Yajna, the body relinquished by Maharaja Nimi was preserved in fragrant substances. And at the end of Satya Yuga, the great saints and Brahmanas made the following request to all the demigods assembled there. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please explain.
So we see this, thank you Prabhu for reading this verse. We see this preservation of body in multiple places in the Bhagavatam. Can anyone tell any other place where this happens?
Anga Maharaj was born.
Anga's son's body, Vena.
Yeah, Vena, right.
Vena was a bad king. So the Brahmanas destroyed him by the power of the Hunkar. But later the mother preserved the body. These days also it is done. I don't know what it is. But they can't do it for more than a day or two, right? Just putting some chemicals and stuff. So, yeah, so let's see what was the request.
So here is the Shatra Yaga. At the end of the Shatra Yaga, something different.
At the end of the sacrifice, by the name Satra. This is the word to word Yaga. So the sacrifice named Satra. So basically, the sacrifice, the whole purpose was the sacrifice was going on, right? Nimi, the agitation of Vasishta was because of the sacrifice, right? He called someone else to do the sacrifice. So that's the name of that sacrifice. When all the sacrifice and everything was done, the Brahmanas made this request to the demigods. So what is that request? We will read. Is that okay?
Thank you, Guruji.
Yes, Shital Mataji. Mataji, want to add something?
Mhm.
Yes, Shital Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna, devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Ragyo Jivati Dehoyam Prasanna Prabhavo Yadi Yukto Nimiha Prahama Bhunme Deha Bandhanam. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If you are satisfied with this sacrifice and if you are actually able to do so, kindly bring Maharaja Nimi back to life in this body. Demigod said yes to this request by the sages, but Maharaja Nimi said, please do not imprison me again in a material body. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, back to you.
You want to read the
Read
purport?
the
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
The demigods are in a position many times higher than that of human beings. Therefore, although the great saints and sages were also powerful brahmanas, he requested demigods to revive Maharaja Nimi's body, which has been preserved in various perfume forms. You should not think that demigods are powerful only in enjoying the senses. They are also powerful in such deeds as bringing life back to a dead body. There are many similar instances in the Vedic literature. For example, according to the history of Savitri and Satyavan died and was being taken away by Yamraja. On the request of his wife Savitri, Satyavan was revived in the same body. This is an important. Please scroll up, Prabhuji. Thank you. This is an important fact about the power of demigods. Hare Krishna, back to you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Very interesting story here, right? Bhagavatam is so interesting and transcendental. Nimi was dead, right? They were about to revive him. Okay, demigod said, yeah, okay, yes, we agree to your request. But Nimi Maharaj said, who's dead? He's speaking. Don't revive me. I don't want to be imprisoned in this body. This body is an ocean of suffering. This body is a place of suffering. Do not imprison me again. That's the same prayer, actually. The child in the womb also prays. Take me out of this womb. I want to do your bhakti, Supreme Lord. Quite similar instance happened in the Harsha Shoka story also. You remember? Who was his father? Anyone remembers?
Chitraketu Maharaj.
Chitraketu. And the mother? Kritadyuti. And the other 9,999,099 stepmothers. So the point there also, the son said, when Narad Muni said, okay, I can revive. He said, no. This body, this parent, next body, next parents. Basically, he also didn't choose to, be born again. But he did speak. Here also we see me, although dead, but speaking. So intelligent person knows that, well, body is about to die only, sooner or later. So by the will of providence, if it's dead, then don't try to. Although demigods have that power, great sages have that power, Supreme Lord has that power, he can revive. But the Nimi Maharaj being self-realized, we read that. He was expert in the science of self-realization. That means he was at a spiritual level. He was not at the bodily level. He didn't want to come in this imprisonment of body again. So he said, don't. And we also already read that he attained the highest destination. So devotees don't pray for long life, actually. We see here, devotees don't pray for long life. Devotees don't pray, don't let my body live for 100 years. That's not the prayer of devotee. Devotee's prayer is, Krishna, whatever life is destined, whether it's 40 years, 50 years, 60, 70, 80, whatever time you have destined, let me not forget you. That's the prayer. Let me not be deprived of the association of devotee. Let me not be deprived of the devotional service to you. That's my only prayer. And Nimi Maharaj is showing that I don't care about this body. Don't imprison me. So let's see further. Text 9. Anyone who's not read wants to read?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I read?
Sure, please.
Yasya yogam na vanchanti de yoga bhaya atara bhajanti charanam.
Can you put the microphone close to the mouth? The voice is breaking.
Hare Krishna, sister.
Yes, please.
Yasya yogam na vanchanti de yoga bhaya atara bhajanti charanam. O Nama Munayo Harime Kasta. Translation. Maharaj Nimi continued, Mayavadis generally want freedom from accepting a material body because they fear having to give it up. The devotees whose intelligence is always filled with the service of the Lord are unafraid. Indeed, they take advantage of the body to manifest the loving service. Second, Maharaj Nimi did not want to accept a material body which would be cause of bondage. Because he was a devotee, he wanted a body by which he could render devotional service to the Lord. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings of Janma Vimor Itayati Tora Bhakta Jani Janma Hau Gora Iti Janma Hau Yadasa. My Lord, if you want me to take birth and accept material body again, kindly do me this favor. Allow me to take birth in the home of your servant, your devotee. I do not mind being born there, even as an insignificant. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu also said, Na dhananadana sundarim kavatam bhadagat vishakam mama dhanma ishvare bhavatad bhaktir ahirnipai. O Lord of the universe, I do not desire material wealth, materialistic followers, beautiful wife, or fruitive activities described in flowery language. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotional service to you. Shastra 4. By saying life after life, Janmani, the Lord referred not to an ordinary birth, but a birth in which to remember the lotus feet of the Lord. Which body is desirable? The devotee does not think like yogis, jnanis, who once refuse a material body and become one from one. Devotee does not like this idea. On the contrary, he will accept any body, material or spiritual, or he wants to serve the Lord. This is real liberation. Hare Krishna, back to you.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. It's a longer purport, so we'll ask someone else to read the rest of the purport.
I can do, Prabhuji. Devotees, Pranam. If one has a strong desire to serve the Lord, even if he accepts a material body, there is no cause of anxiety, since a devotee, even in a material body, is a liberated soul. This is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami. Iha jasya hare dasya karmana manasa gira nikilasya api avasthashu Jivan Mukta Sa Uchyate. A person acting in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, in the service of Krishna, with this body, mind, and intelligence and words, is a liberated person even within the material world, although he may be engaged in many so-called material activities. The desire to serve the Lord establishes one as liberated in any condition of life, whether in a spiritual body or material body. In a spiritual body, the devotee becomes a direct associate of the Lord, but even though a devotee may superficially appear to be in a material body, he is always liberated and is engaged in the same duties of the service of the Lord as a devotee in the Vaikuntha Loka. There is no distinction. It is said, Sadhur Jivo Bha Maro Bha. Whether a devotee is alive or dead, his only concern is to serve the Lord. Tyakta daham punarjarma noite mamiti. When he gives up his body, he goes directly to become an associate of the Lord and serve him, although he does the same thing even in a material body in the material world. For a devotee, there is no pain, pleasure, or material perfection. One may argue that at the time of death, a devotee also suffers because of giving up his material body. But in this connection, the example may be given that a cat carries a mouse in its mouth and also carries a kitten in its mouth. Both the mouse and the kitten are carried in the same mouth, but the perception of the mouse is different from that of the kitten. When a devotee gives up his body, Taktadaham, he is ready to go back home, back to Godhead. Thus, his perception is certainly different from that of the person being taken away by Jamaraj for punishment. A person whose intelligence is always concentrated upon the service of the Lord is unafraid of accepting a material body. Whereas a non-devotee having no engagement in the service of the Lord is very much afraid of accepting a material body or giving up his present one. Therefore, we should follow the instruction of Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatat Bhaktir Aituki Tui. It doesn't matter whether we accept a material body or spiritual body, our only ambition should be to serve.
Can't hear you, Prabhu.
Oh, I thought it's my bad network, but maybe something Prabhu said.
I think Prabhuji got stuck. Prabhuji.
I think you almost read the thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Avni Mataji and Vipul Prabhu, for reading this nice verse. So Prabhupada is giving a detailed purport to this, and which kind of speaks for itself, that when the verse is very important, Prabhupada gives an elaborate purport to those verses. This is the fundamental of spiritual life. Everyone is very, very fearful in this world. And what is the biggest fear? What's the biggest fear?
Fear of death.
Fear of death, right? Some can say, well, fear of losing job, fear of losing dear one, fear of losing health, fear of losing home, fear of losing car, fear of losing mobile phone. But compared to that, no, nothing. But a devotee is unafraid. Why? Because devotee is at the spiritual platform, like Maharaj Nimi. He was, no, Marobi Rakhobi Amito Tuma Krishna, you keep me in this body and that body. I only want your devotional service. What is Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying? That if you want me to take birth in the next body, it's fine. But I have one request. Give me the birth in Bhakta Graha. so I can take their remnants. Even as a dog, I'm fine. Even as an ant, I'm fine. I'm not praying for wealth. I'm not praying for big health or big Mercedes or big bungalow or Dhanam, Janam, Ishwaram, Sundarim, all those things. I'm not praying. I'm praying for Bhavatat Bhakti. Life after life, life after life. This is my only desire. This body is a network of problems, but it is also an instrument for self-realization. Therefore, we should balance it nicely. And for such a person who is always engaged with body, mind, and words in Krishna's service, that as Prabhupada is mentioning, that person is in Vaikuntha or that person is in material world is the same. Why? Because that person is 100% Krishna conscious, like Srila Prabhupada. Whether in the temple of the Amrata Damodar Mandir in Vrindavan or whether in the Bowery, New York, same consciousness, right? So this is Jivan Mukta, Sauchate. That person is liberated even living in this material world. And that leads to fearlessness. Okay? Whether this lifetime, next lifetime, whether this body or that body, whether in Narayana Parasarve Nakutashchana Bibidyati Swarga Pavarga Narkeshu Apitulyat Darshana. Nakutashchana Bibidyati. They don't have any fear. Because fear is because of lack of knowledge. Fear is because of lack of spiritual realization. Fear is because of attachment. Fear is because of desires. Fear is because of insecurity. But the symptoms of a pure devotee is that complete shelter on Krishna, complete knowledge of the process of bhakti. Then what is the fear? Complete understanding of who am I and what's my relationship with Krishna. Then there is no fear. So this is what we have to develop, although easier said than done. But the pure devotees and the Bhagavatam is teaching us how to be really fearless. Like the example is given, the kitten in the mouth of a cat is not fearful. Even if it's dead, the kitten knows, my mother is transporting me to a safer destination. So sometimes people ask, hey, he was a nice devotee, he was doing a lot of bhakti and this, why did he die? And everyone will die, the body will die. But it's Krishna's arrangement to transport to a safer destination. So we should not be perplexed by a devotee getting some critical disease or loss of a body. Of course, it's painful. It's very painful. It should be painful because we will not have their physical association. Very, very painful. But that person, that devotee is not fearful. And devotee is not pained. Because Krishna has a divine arrangement. And that is to take him to a safer place. Or her to a safer place. So that's Maharaj Nimi. That's why he was asking, don't imprison me further in this body. Any other comments, additions, or questions anyone has in this text? Okay, let's read the next verse, text number 10. Was not yet read. Raghu Prabhu, thank you for joining. We're missing you for many days, please.
Okay, thank you. Hare Kṛṣṇa devotees. Teham navarut sutse ham dukkha sukha vaya vaham sarvatrasya yato mrityur matsyanam udake yataha. Translation and purport by Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. I do not wish to accept a material body. For such a body is the source of all distress, lamentation, and fear. everywhere in the universe, just as it is for a fish in the water, which lives always in anxiety because of fear of death. Purport. The material body, whether in the higher or lower planetary system, is destined to die. In the lower planetary system or lower species of life, one may die soon. And in the higher planets or higher species, one may live for a long, long time. But death is inevitable. This fact should be understood. Can you scroll up, please? This fact should be understood. In the human form of life, one should take the opportunity to put an end to birth, death, old age, and disease by performing tapasya. This is the aim of human civilization, to stop the repetition of birth and death, which is called mrityu samsara pratmani. This can be done only when one is Krishna conscious or has achieved the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Otherwise, one must rot in this material world and accept a material body subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. The example given here is that water is a very nice place for a fish, but the fish is never free from anxiety about death, since big fish are always eager to eat the small fish. Falguni tatra mahattam. All living entities are eaten by bigger living entities. This is the way of material nature. Ahastani sahastanam apadani chatuspadam padam falguni tatra mahattam jivo jivasya jivanam. Those who are devoid of hands are prey. Those who are devoid of hands are prey for those who have hands. Those devoid of legs are prey for the four-legged. The weak are the subsistence of the strong, and the general rule holds that one living being is food for another. Bhagavatam 1:13-47. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has created the material world in such a way that one living entity is food for another. Thus, there is struggle for existence. But although we speak of survival of the fittest, no one can escape death without becoming a devotee of the Lord. Rim vina naiva sum taranti. One cannot escape the cycle of birth and death without becoming a devotee. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.3. Aprapya mam nivran tante mrityu samsara vratmani. One who does not attain shelter or the lotus feet of Krishna must certainly wander up and down within the cycle of birth and death. Hare Krishna. So I think this whole translation purport, Maharaj Nimi is once again stressing why he doesn't want the material body. The material body is a cause for lamentation, disease, old age, death. And comparing it to a fish in the water, where fish is always afraid of being devoured by any bigger fish, and a bigger fish is still afraid of being devoured by something else. And the whole human civilization is that way. All animals, lion eats deer eats grass. But there is a chain where one animal tries to eat into another animal and so on, or insects and so on. So that's where the material body, to get out of this, is being emphasized here once again, and we have seen this repeatedly, that to get into Krishna consciousness and practice that with a wholehearted bhakti, which I don't do, but anyway, that's what is recommended here. Back to you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. You are such a sincere devotee, Prabhu, doing so many services. and inspiring us with your example. Thank you so much, Prabhu. So about body, Prabhupada said human body is like a bad bargain. But we have to make the best use of bad bargain. Somehow or the other, we have received this body because of the past choices we have made. And we have come to a junction, as Prabhupada is mentioning here. We have come to a junction where we can become free from death by becoming a devotee. No one can escape death without becoming a devotee of the Lord. So, in short, and becoming a devotee of the Lord is only possible in the human species. Rare examples may be there, but in general, humans only have the karma yoni. Others have bhog yoni. Like a deer will be eaten by the tiger. A tiger will eat deer. No choice there. But humans have a choice. So, whether they can take to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, or they can continue just working like a materialistic person, that choice is there. One who does not take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna must certainly wander up and down in this cycle. Up and down means upper planets, lower planets, species, cat, mat, fish, dog, and different species, 8.4 million species, will keep moving until one comes to the conclusion that to become real deathless is to take shelter of Krishna or devotional service. Until that point, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi jatale jataleshena, taking wombs of different mothers and moving on and oscillating in the cycle of birth and death, which is not a very good idea. So Prabhupada is writing, in the human form of life, one should take the opportunity to put an end to this birth, P-O-D-Y, birth, old age, disease, and death. That's the opportunity. It's the aim of human civilization to stop repeated birth and death. I'm reading from the purport as it is. Mrityu samsara vartamani. And how can that be done? Only by when one is Krishna conscious. No other way, no other way, no other way. So very, very clear message is there. We have attained the human form of life. What is the goal? To end this repeated birth and death. The goal is not to accumulate money. The goal is not to get doctors or PhDs or this and that degrees. That's not the barometer of success of human form of life. How many cars we have, how many homes we have, how many bank balance we have, how much big family we have. All that is just, they give some name, fame, recognition in this world. But at the end, when death is there, well, all those degrees, all those money, all those things, the cars will not save one. What will save one is one's bhakti. And that will go with that person. So, rest everything will stay here. So, intelligent person understands this and works with a fine balance and utilizes one's precious time to awaken that pure bhakti, to end the cycle of birth and death. This is being Krishna conscious. Any other comments, additions here? Okay, let's see what the demigods responded. So this was the request. Text 10 and 11 was the request of Nimi Maharaj when they were trying to rekindle his body. But he gave wonderful points and Prabhupada elaborated in so great detail that please don't do so. Let's see what the demigods responded back. Yes, Lakshay, Prabhu.
Hare Kṛṣṇa. Deva Uchaha. Videsha Ushyatam Kamam Lochaneshu Shariranam Unmeshana Nimesh Shabhyam Lakshito Adhyatma Samstita. Translation. The demigod said, let Maharaja Nimi live without a material body. Let him live in a spiritual body as a personal associate of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and according to his desire, let him be manifest or unmanifest to common materially embodied people. Purport. The demigod wanted Maharaja Nimi to come to life, but Maharaja Nimi did not want to accept another material body. Under the circumstance of the demigods, another circumstance, the demigods, having been requested by saintly person, gave him the benediction that he would be able to stay in his spiritual body. There are two kinds of spiritual bodies as generally understood by common men. The term spiritual body is sometimes taken to refer to a ghostly body. An impious man who dies after sinful activities is sometimes condemned so that he cannot possess a gross material body of 5 material elements, but must live in the subtle body of mind, intelligence, and ego. However, as explained in Bhagavad Gita, devotees can give up the material body and attain the spiritual body free from all material things, gross and subtle. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam yeti so Arjuna. Thus, the demigod gave King Nimi the benediction that he would be able to stay in purely spiritual body, free from all gross and subtle material contamination. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can be seen or unseen according to his own transcendental desire. Similarly, a devotee being Jiva Mukta can be seen or not as he chooses. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavartam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is not manifest to everyone and anyone. To common man, he is unseen. Ataha Śrī Caitanya Namādi na bhavade grahyan indriyat. Krishna and his name, fame, qualities, and paraphernalia cannot be materially understood unless one is advanced in spiritual life. Sevon mukhe hi jivada. One cannot see Krishna. Therefore, the ability to see Krishna depends on Krishna's mercy. The same privilege of being seen or unseen according to one's own desire was given to Maharaja Nimi. Thus, he lived in his original spiritual body as an associate of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhu. So here, only Krishna can be seen by devotees who, it's based on Krishna's mercy. And here in this purport, the demigod is not giving to kind of Nimi can live as without body. That option he is given, and as a he can serve as serve to Krishna. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So basically, we have a spiritual body. Narad Muni is a good example. The transcendental spaceman. We see he travels, but he's not affected by the material modes. One time actually Kamsa tried to kill Narad Muni. One devotee was telling that he put his sword across Narad Muni's body, but it's not made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether. It is made up of transcendental elements, such as Ananda. So even the sword was it could not do anything. it's not a material body. So same with here Nimi Maharaj. Jivan Mukta. Another example coming to my mind is that Krishna is there, But can we see? No. Yoga Maya Samavrita. His internal energy is covered. Maya Javani Ka Channam Agyadhokshujam Abhyam Na Lakshase Muda Drishan Nato Natya Dharoyata. Kunti Maharani says the same prayer which all of you are trying to learn. This is the third verse, I believe. Maya Javani Ka Channam. By the curtain of Maya, Krishna covers himself. Like an actor is covered by the makeup. An ordinary person will not understand. But a person who is very, very close to the actor, oh, he's my friend. He's acting like Kamsa, but I know he's my friend. But is my mother acting as Kamsa, my sister acting as Kamsa? Right? A person who is close, who has that same tuning, can understand. So similarly, Krishna may choose to reveal himself and not reveal himself based on how we approach him. Same with a pure devotee. So basically, Nimi Maharaj got a spiritual body. And Prabhupada is quoting this verse from chapter 9 also. That Krishna also reveals or not reveals. Similarly, pure devotee can reveal or not reveal. I was talking about Vyasadeva. Madhvacharya went all the way to Badrikashram to meet Vyasadeva, who is still performing tapasya. But can any ordinary person go and meet him? No. Madhvacharya could meet him. Right? So, it takes one to know one. In English, they say that. Similarly, it takes one to know Krishna. It takes one to know pure devotee, whose eyes are covered with just lust, anger, greed. And how can they see Krishna? Premanda Churita Bhakti Vilochanina. And whose eyes are anointed with the ointment of love, devotional service, loving devotional service. Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. Those great souls, they're always seeing Krishna in their heart. Yamashama Sundara Guna Sarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajam. So they're never away from Krishna because their eyes are always Sava Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Lage. They see everywhere Krishna. Why? Because their eyes, they're wearing the lens of Krishna consciousness. So they see everything in a true perspective in connection to Krishna. This is bhakti. This is Jivan Mukta. This is pure devotional service. So the demigods gave Nimi Maharaj this blessing that you can manifest or unmanifest to common people as you desire. Any other comments, any additions before we pause? Okay.
What is the word meaning of Shebon Mukhi Hi Jiva Dao?
Sevan Mukhe Hi Jiva. The Sevan Mukhe Hi Jiva. When we start rendering this service through the medium of our mouth, Mukha, Mukharavinda. So basically, we start the process. Ata Śrī Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahat indriya. It's the same verse. Ata Śrī Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahat. We cannot understand Krishna through our indriya, our senses. Oh, Krishna, if you are there, come in front of me. Through our eyes, nose, we cannot understand Krishna. How can we understand? Bhaktamam vijananti. Sevan mukhe, seva, basically bhakti. Right? Seva is devotional service or bhakti. And how does that begin with? That begins with the medium of mouth by chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Sevan mukhe hi jiva. Those swayam eva sfurti adaha. That's the last part of this verse. Swayam eva sfurti. Sfurti means Krishna will manifest to that person who is sincerely rendering devotional service through the medium of the tongue, by chanting the holy name, to the medium of the ear, by hearing Krishna Katha. Krishna will swayam eva sfurti. He will manifest, he will choose to reveal to such a person who is sincerely rendering bhakti or seva through his jiva. Seva unmukhehi jiva adau. Starting with say adau means origin, right? So basically bhakti starts with the tongue, through the chanting of the holy name. And then Krishna will reveal to such a person.
Thank
Is
you.
that okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Any other comments anyone has? Okay. Okay, so we will pause here and continue tomorrow with the next verse and see what happens further. There are a lot of dynasties in the later half of this chapter. So we'll continue that tomorrow. Grantraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Purana ki jai. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Gaur Bhaktarinda ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare